Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Will, and I'm back to give my spoiler review for the first episode of Marvel Studios' Loki. That's right, the God of Mischief is back, and he is as mischiefy as ever, if that's actually a word. I think it is. We'll go with the word. So this is the very first episode for Loki. It is a spoiler review, like I said at the beginning. So please, if you have not watched the episode yet, make sure that you pause this video, go watch the episode. It's actually pretty good. It's a good reintroduction to Loki and kind of sets up the series as a whole without giving too much away, because I feel like we're going to get some twists and turns towards the end of this series. Go watch that first and then come back and check out my review or my thoughts or whatever I'm really calling this thing. I'm just talking about the show, and hopefully you'll stick around all the way through the video and leave your thoughts in the comments down below. So, this series is not following the Loki that we've known and loved since Thor Ragnarok and the one who tragically died in Avengers Infinity War. No, this is following the time variant version of Loki, as they're calling it in the series. The Loki who stole the Tesseract from Avengers Endgame and poofed off to wherever he landed. Turns out he landed in the desert. He is confronted by agents from the Time Variance Authority, which is the group of people or beings that protect the timeline, the sacred timeline, the way that they say it during the series. And he's basically put on trial for altering the timeline because he doesn't belong in that part of the timeline. So their purpose is to reset variants that they encounter. And the series does a really good job with this first episode explaining the MCU version of the Time Variant Authority, what their job is, what they do, in a very whimsical slash kind of satirical way. It has a lot. This series feels very Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy crossed with Doctor Who to a degree, with a sprinkle of like the mid-century stylings of Legion. If you ever watched Legion on FX, which was a really good series, you should check it out. It feels like all of those things kind of rolled into one, and it's fun to watch Tom Hiddleston portray Loki. It's always been fun. He was one of the best parts of the original Thor movie, and he really grew into his own for someone who was just meant to play a villain. And I like how this episode really kind of takes the time to not only introduce us to this alternate version of Loki, who is technically a version who hasn't gone through the events of Thor: The Dark World or Ragnarok, where those two movies really set Loki up to be more of a hero than a villain. This is still the Loki that just attacked New York and was basically throwing a temper tantrum. And I like how his conversation with Agent Mobius, who's played by Owen Wilson, really well. I like how their conversation, kind of this deconstruction of Loki's mental state. Like, why do you do the things to what really makes the God of Mischief tick? And I really like that aspect about this first episode. It kind of breaks down this supposedly villainous side of Loki, the one that was still purely the villain of the first Avengers movie, to kind of reset him almost closer to the version that we got towards Thor Ragnarok, where he's still not super good, but you can see that everything he's putting up, these illusions and this facade of being powerful and dominating, is really all just a facade. It's a mask. And that's something I really liked about how the episode really tailored it. And it also sets up the Time Variance Authority to be this really powerful organization. I mean, for God's sakes, the Tesseract, which Loki had on him since he escaped from from the first Avengers movie to this point in time, was completely useless in the TVA, as well as they had multiple sets of Infinity Stones that were being used as paperweights by some of the employees at the TVA. It's a really subtle way of kind of setting up this organization to be as powerful as they're supposed to be, since they're supposed to be the keepers of time. Now, this organization, and the whole reason that Agent Mobius is trying to convince Loki to help them is because they're tracking down another time variant who is picking off their agents one by one. And it's not until we get towards the end of the episode that we realize specifically why they need Loki for it. So I'll get to that in just a minute. But I really like Tom Hiddleston's performance. He's always done a really good job as Loki. He's funny, he's charming. I made a joke at the beginning of my trailer reaction for Loki where I was like, he's not an attractive guy. It was a joke. He's actually a very handsome man. But I always liked his performance as Loki. And I'm glad we're getting a chance to explore another side of him that we didn't necessarily get to see in the movies. We got to see a good couple sides of him in the movies, but this is kind of a really weird way of kind of playing off the character without he doesn't have the influence of his brother or his father or anybody else. This is solely him, and we really get a chance to kind of see a deeper side of Loki without a lot of exterior influences. Like most of his influences from the other movies he was in was really because of like his brother or his interactions with the other heroes and stuff like that, or even the other villains. And with this series, I feel like we're going to get a real chance to see a truer version of Loki in the MCU. Agent Mobius, played by Owen Wilson, is kind of like the straight man, but a little bit of comedy mixed in. I like how it seems like their relationship's going to play off each other, kind of like a Riggs and Murtaugh type deal. Very similar to what I thought we were going to get more of with Sam and Bucky's relationship. Something like that, but not necessarily as buddy-buddy as it would be. This is like a inmate with their parole officer type deal. And unfortunately, I don't remember some of the other characters' names that we got to see, like the really strong like guard lady who was pretty much clocks Loki in the first few minutes when they bring him into custody. And it's really funny how they use time to kind of slow him down, but even though everybody else is moving at normal speed. And then the judge, who is the one who actually gives custody of Loki to Agent Mobius, which again, I think we're going to see more of her and more of some of the other people on this authority council, is what I'm going to call it, so to speak. Like I said, we got an idea of how powerful the TVA is. Just the satirical way he goes through processing, which I found was very hilarious. I like the style that the series is giving us so far. Again, it's super early, so we don't know all the ins and outs or what we can really expect going forward with the rest of the series, but I like where we're starting off here. Like I said, it has that sort of Hitchhiker's Guide, Doctor Who style with a little bit of like the set design from Legion, which I really like. I'm really liking the vibe I'm getting so far. There wasn't a ton in this episode. It really was kind of a deconstruction of Loki. He got to see some of his biggest failures that Mobius showed him during their interview before Loki had a brief escape through the facility while everyone was chasing him down. He was able to get back and actually got to see further in his history that he hasn't experienced yet that the other Loki did. So we got to see the major events from Thor: The Dark World, how he was, he basically, Mobius laid it out for him. You're responsible for your mother's death. And it really hit him hard. And he also got to see the interaction that he had with Odin before Odin passed away in Ragnarok, and even the conversation that Loki has with Thor, that Thor has with Loki in the elevator in Ragnarok as well. I liked how Tom Hiddleston's performance was when he was watching those, because you could see Loki like fully break down in those moments of quiet with the conversation with his father and the conversation with his brother, and really getting those things that the other Loki did. But then he also saw himself die, so that kind of sent him down a weird spiral too. But he eventually agrees to help, or at least agrees to kind of work with them to figure out what's going on and what they need. I guess as a way to kind of, maybe he'll use it as a ploy to find a way to escape, or maybe that'll be what it's like at the beginning. I really foresee this is going to be his future, a way that he can kind of control his own destiny, since he feels like with the TVA's existence, he really feels like he never had a choice, and I think that's a big shock to him. But come on, he's the god of mischief. He's going to make his own choice. There was a subtle Easter egg, at least I felt it was an Easter egg for Mephisto. When Mobius is interviewing the little girl in the church in France in 1548, I believe was the time, and when he asks who did this, who attacked their agents, she points out a stained glass window with the devil on it. And I'm like, are we doing a Mephisto Easter egg again? Like, I can't go through another series with people saying it's Mephisto. It's Mephisto. I'm like, I can't do that again. No. I don't think it's Mephisto. I don't think they're going to do it. But this definitely does have more implications of what we can possibly expect coming up with Spider-Man No Way Home and Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. I mean, this show is directly dealing with the multiverse. I mean, the TVA's job was basically to eliminate the multiverse and form one single timeline. And now their job is to make sure that doesn't branch off into a multiverse. So, early speculation, I'm not going to do too many speculations. I just really want to enjoy the series. Early speculation, I'm assuming the TVA is going to be null and void, or something's going to happen where they don't pay attention and the timelines is going to explode all over the place. So they're really doing this, everything's leading up to Multiverse of Madness. I mean, everything feels like it's an Easter egg leading up to that. The reason that they need Loki they need his help, because the person who's kind of making these changes to the timeline or altering the timeline and who's attacking and killing their agents is another version of Loki. So this series is definitely going to be about Loki stopping Lokis throughout history, basically. So that's where I feel like it's got a little bit of a Doctor Who Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy vibe to it, with some Legion themes and styles and stuff. 'Cause I love the style. I love the style that I'm really loving the style that this series is setting up, with the kind of like the 1970s style, like office building and the architecture and the mid-century modern stuff. I really do like that, and I'm really excited with where it's going. Again, there's not much with this first episode. It's really about reintroducing Loki, deconstructing him to a point where he is more so a new version, or a different version, but not a fully bad version. It's like they kind of fast-tracked him from villain to anti-hero, whereas I think it took a movie or two before that technically kind of happened. But I like what the series has done so far with this first episode. Not a ton happened. It basically sets up Loki. It sets up the TVA as our main location, and it also sets up what we're expecting. Some time-traveling shenanigans with Mobius and Loki, trying to track down different variant versions of Loki or variants throughout time and try to repair the timeline that's being slowly or rapidly separating into a multiverse, which is just clearly going to lead up to Multiverse of Madness and all the shenanigans we can expect with that. Will Loki appear in that? I don't know. I don't remember seeing anything about Tom Hiddleston being in there, but I could be surprised. And besides the Easter eggs with Mephisto and the kind of tongue-in-cheek way of kind of devaluing the Infinity Stones, which I thought was really funny. I did like, which I thought was a later scene in the series, but when Loki was asking why the TVA didn't step in for other events that they might have manipulated, where they say basically it was always planned that way, was Loki was D.B. Cooper. If you don't know the story of D.B. Cooper, he was a thief who basically hijacked a plane with a bomb and was given a lot of money after they let most of the people go. He was given a lot of money, and he jumps out the back of the plane, but D.B. Cooper disappeared and no one's ever been able to find him or the money. I like how the series played with that, whereas Loki was D.B. Cooper, and it was a bet between him and Thor if he could do it or not. So the reason he disappeared was because the Bifrost opened up and took him away. So this was way early in their history, where they were still very mentally adolescent and basically screwed with history and got away with it. So I like that sort of little weird historical Easter egg and how the series used it. I thought it was going to be something later in the series, but it turned out it was actually like early on. So that was fun. I liked that, and I liked a lot of what the series had to offer. I was very invested in it. Just, I think the style of it and the look of it really caught my eye. I love Tom Hiddleston's performance as Loki. I've always enjoyed it, and so watching him was fun. I thought Owen Wilson did a fantastic job as Mobius. I'm glad, they're getting more of these. Is Owen Wilson considered A-lister?
Wow.
I'm glad they're getting more character dynamics into the MCU, and I think Owen Wilson's just it's a really nice fit. It's still Owen Wilson. He's not a type of person who just bleeds into a character to the point where you can't tell it's him, but it is Owen Wilson. I always like Owen Wilson's acting. I've always enjoyed it. But overall, I think the first episode was actually really fun. It gave us a lot of information about the TVA, about Loki's past, and about like the multiverse in general. I'm very interested where the series is going. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I don't think it's going to be as heavy or topical as what we got with Falcon and Winter Soldier. I think it's going to be a good blending of weirdness that might have gotten lost a little bit in WandaVision in those first few episodes. I think it's a little bit more of a controlled weirdness, which I like. Those are my overall thoughts and review of the first episode of Loki. Have you seen it? What did you think about it? Comment down below. Let me know your thoughts on it. As always, thank you so much for watching this and all of my videos. I really do appreciate it. If you did enjoy this video, why not give me a subscribe? I would really appreciate that. I've got a ton of videos on the channel right now. I'm working on some other edits for some videos I've recorded already, so expect to see those in the coming days. And I've been streaming more on Twitch. I've actually started streaming The Sims 4. Check me out at my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/DGeekWill. You can follow me at all the other socials listed at the end of the video. Like, share, and subscribe, and all that fun stuff. And as always, until next time, I will catch you later. Hey, thanks for watching this video. If you did like this video, why not give me a thumbs up and share it with your friends? You can subscribe to the channel by clicking on my gorgeous little face right over there. You can follow me on all the various social media platforms right below. And last but certainly not least, if you've got a few extra minutes, why not check out one of the lovely videos floating right over here. Later.